Well, this should be it down here, anyway, for syntax. This all looks very messy. The only thing I have left to add about diagramming sentences and syntax is this part right in here. There are three parts of sentences that when you diagram, you don't connect them with the rest of the diagram. You just put them on a shelf by themselves. One is when you have nouns of direct address. If I said, Tom, do you understand me? Well, do you understand me is a sentence, but Tom, you would just put it over there on a shelf, Tom. I think in Latin that's called maybe vocative case or something. Interjections, wow, I understood that. Well, wow, same thing, you would put it over there. If it were something like holy smokes, then you could put it smokes modified by holy if you wanted to, or son of a gun, I got it. Son of a gun, you could diagram that if you wish to, but you would put it on its side because it's not involved with the predication. So that's one of the reasons that the argument is that interjections, should they really be considered parts of speech? They are by definition blurted out and not part of syntax, really. Another thing, I guess I'll take the time to say this. You know, I've studied some on the question of, so where did human language come from? Interesting theories, and I discussed it earlier in the course, way back before I started syntax. You know, there is that theory that there's the heave-ho theory, that humans had an advantage if they said heave-ho, and they learned to do that. Interjections are almost like animal cries. And you know, I was thinking recently, maybe it comes down to predication. Maybe that was that moment, that magical moment, or that magical million years or 100,000 years, where humans figured out that you could tell something about something. You could predicate. I don't know. That's on the side. Independent phrases. Independent phrases are similar. Sometimes they're just phrases that don't really have anything to do with the sentence or with the structure of the clause or clauses. They're just put on the side by themselves. They are not going to be attached to a plus, which means simple subject or subject and predicate. They're not part of it. They're independent. All right, now the rest of this is just information to tell you about. humanitynotes.webs.com. I've told you consistently about that. That is a very complete set of notes from last year, my teaching. And in it, there is a section on syntax. It might be interesting for you to look at. Usingenglish.com, that is a website. It's a British website, and I think I recently mentioned it here. It's the British don't do Reed Kellogg sentence diagramming. I think I told you before. I'm giving you very much an American approach to grammar and syntax. And currently, at this very day, there's a pretty good debate going on between myself and another man on one of the forums there. If you'll go to the forums and go to Analyzing and Diagramming Sentences and then look for my name, Frank Antonsen, you could see how this develops, this discussion. The British have trouble understanding this American approach that we have. Also, if you wanted to, elsewhere on that forum, there's a whole series of Shakespearean quotes that I diagrammed, because one of the things I was wanting to see at that time, were there any sentences that were too complicated to diagram the Reed Kellogg way, and I have found none so far. All right, a website, Diagramming Sentences. If you type that in, if you Google it, and you type that in all capitals, you'll come up with a site which teaches diagramming sentences. Reed Kellogg Diagrammer, I believe if you Google that, you'll come up with a really neat one where you can type a sentence in and it'll diagram it for you. Now it makes mistakes and the sentence can't be very big, but it's pretty amazing that the team managed to do that. I guess you're going to need Silverlight. I tried to look at that this morning and I was going to have to upload a program called Silverlight to see it, but it's fun. On YouTube, in a sense, I'm telling you about my competition here, but I don't regard this as competition. These are colleagues in a way. Grammar Revolution. If you'll find that channel, the woman's name is Elizabeth O'Brien. She is delightful. Delightful. If I had to learn grammar from somebody, I would choose her, just because the joy and enthusiasm that comes off her as she teaches it is so, you just want to learn it because she's so delightful. I would recommend you go to the one called Adverb Clauses. There's many on there. That's the one that I looked at most recently. Mr. Thoth, it has got, I guess that's how you say his name. He has a channel with a lot of this material on, virtually the same thing. Now, both of these people use the word verb instead of simple predicate. And I had told you earlier, I wish they would not do that, because that's part of the argument that's going on up here, or argument, debate on that forum. It's about, well, is a verb, what is it? See, the British, I don't think they even know what is meant by simple predicate. It's a different, they use a different way of explaining things. But anyway, you might want to look at that, and certainly look at Elizabeth O'Brien's work. Eugene Moutou, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I think he's currently the world authority on Reed-Kellogg diagramming. I think he has written the most extensive book that's modern on the subject. I think it's interesting that he has his PhD in German and his PhD in Latin. I had his book, but I left it with the Latin teacher when I retired. Okay, now a couple other things. What I want to do probably tomorrow morning is I'm going to show you these books. I'm going to go up to the house and set the camera up. This one is delightful. I don't think you're going to be able to get this, so I'll show that to you slowly. This one also, very good, not as much fun because they don't diagram it. This is the famous Harman and House, or House and Harman. I'll open that and show you a few pages in that. That is probably the American authority on grammar, at least Reed-Kellogg grammar. This, I'll show you more. Amazing book, really. It's the answer keys to the original Reed-Kellogg text. And this one, absolutely delightful. It's called Sister Bernadette's Barking Dog. Kitty Burns Foley, I think is her name. She amazingly captured the joy of studying this material back in the 50s and 60s. So I'll give you a closer look at that. Now, finally, this chart is probably the last time you'll see it. Well, it's on YouTube. And we don't really, this is morphology. And I had shown you that. But now it's time to show you the rest of it. Here, these are words that must be known. I feel that if you know your English grammar, you must know those words. I don't say they have to be memorized, but you must be comfortable with them. It closes like a book. I guess I can't close that now. Well, but the one part I wanted to show you is the other side of it. Syntax. That goes over here. And it also closes. Well, syntax, I'm ready to admit it's not as critical in the learning of foreign languages, probably, as morphology. You could pause this at a certain point. But at the top, I've got the entire language of Reed-Kellogg, language of sentence diagram. And here is a very stupid, awkward sentence. But it has every single sentence part in it. Let me read it to you here. My sister's dancing partner, a handsome guy who gave her a scarf and a ring, and her very good friend, quite gladly went to the dance and stayed out late. But the dancing was the bump and caused them to become dizzy in their hearts and heads until they didn't know that it was late. Wow. I had to add wow, or I should have said maybe, John, wow, my sister's dance, because I didn't have an interjection in there. But anyway, with that, I'll leave this venue for the teaching of this art. And your next video, which I guess will probably be tomorrow morning early, I will show you, give you a look at those books. Okay, see you later.